Welcome to the Out on a Limb podcast. We are all interconnected to a greater web of consciousness. Our aim is to open your mind to a new world through having open-minded discussions about what we perceive our reality to be.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Out on a Limb podcast with your hosts. Well, our friends out there tell us to keep going, so I'm going to keep going because with our hosts Will,
hello,
and Allison and Samantha. And as usual, we're just rocking and rolling before we start. And we're talking about our blooper reel. And Samantha graced us with some things for the blooper reel right before we popped on here. So
that's going to be lovely.
Her bloopers.
So we were still laughing from that. Sorry.
Okay, I got it.
Just don't spit your drink.
I'm
please.
trying not to.
At any rate, we are back in the saddle after having been gone for quite a while. You don't know that we've been gone because we still broadcast every week.
That's right.
But we have not taped a podcast in probably a month at least, right?
Look how long my hair is now.
At least a month.
Like it was there, now it's...
Yeah.
Because this one was in New Zealand.
She was
having an amazing,
globe-trotting.
Golly, amazing time.
That's globe-trotting.
And we've been around some different states. We went up to West Virginia for a conference, which was beautiful.
Yeah.
And then we went out to Kentucky for the Holistic Medical Conference, second year in a row.
You've been Eastern Seaboard trotting.
But it wasn't New Zealand.
No, it wasn't New Zealand.
We have another friend who's in Tahiti at the moment. I'm like,
Right.
goodness gracious.
Right.
how
What am I
fun.
doing? I need to find a different job.
Right?
My goodness.
We
Or a
know-
benefactor, somebody that can pay for our trips. That's
No,
what we
my
need.
mom says that I am becoming a professional companion, travel
Ooh.
companion. And
For
it's
her,
a
for
lot
the
of
mother.
work. No, I have a friend who, remember I told you, I have a friend who's asked if I would accompany her to France because she wants to go to all
But these are
different
women.
towns. Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
Travel companion.
Travel companions, though, could be either gender. We want to make sure the show is clean.
Can I be a travel companion?
No.
Oh.
Hey, if there is
No.
a man out there that needs a travel companion that's going to give me first class and have separate room, I guess I would do that. I don't know.
They got a
Hit me up.
They got a
I'll
website
see.
for that.
No, yeah.
We're not, let's get out of the gutter.
It's
Well, no,
not
that
in there.
wasn't the gutter.
It's not in there.
No, I was
Nope.
being like
Okay.
it's just travel companion,
Right.
and it's
Just saying there's websites out there.
well, and it's fun to do, but it's a lot of responsibility. I mean,
Well, that's true. If you're talking
Yes.
about an older person or somebody needs a lot of help, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, you're earning your.
that
Yeah.
is
Yes.
not something. And in my younger days, I would lift her suitcases, I would do
Sure.
all this stuff, and now it's so many different things about it. I mean, like one, she's fighting for her. Remember, we were talking about sovereignty. She's
Sovereignty?
fighting for her, sovereignty, her independence. And so here she's, I'm kind of going, I'm traveling with my 85-year-old mother who doesn't look like an 85-year-old mother because she's always dyed her hair brown and she's, kept herself looking really good.
Yeah.
So people would think 75, which is still, not young. But so I'm saying, I'm traveling with my 85-year-old mother. Do you mind if I step forward and do this? And then my mom goes and grabs her heavy bags and stuff. And I'm going, I will do it. You're ruining the look, Mom, And I'm like, when I was younger, you would saddle me up and say, yeah, this is my pack mule. And I'm like, and now I'm trying to do the same thing. And you're like, no, I can do it. And I'm like, just because you can do it doesn't mean
Right.
you must. It took me halfway through the trip to get her to just
Relax.
Let go.
yeah. I mean, it was really, so that was just quite a challenge.
So we're going to talk about Samantha's
Yes.
highlights and some of the neat things that you learned and saw, and we're going to talk a little bit about our
Your stuff.
primarily our trip to Kentucky, because the West Virginia one, we did not do a channeling. It was just a talk about the origin story.
Met
And,
some amazing people for sure.
oh, gosh,
Do you want to go first?
we can. But the channeling in Kentucky is what I kind of wanted to give some updates on, some more information. And a lot of it was a repeat in terms of, here's what they really want you to know and that we are on the right timeline and all of that sort of stuff. And I do want to remind you all, because I think this might air mid-November, but November 15th is the last day for the early bird sign up of the Origin
Oh,
Story
right.
12-week class.
Which is totally worth doing.
So if you can get in under that deadline, that would be fantastic. Save yourself some money there and join us, because it's going to be a fantastic class coming up in January. But
Yeah, and if you're debating that, like, stop, because you'll literally shift your whole perspective. Like, you might be a really spiritual person, but once you do this this course, read this book, and then really get into it, it's like your perspective on your humanness will so shift. Like, it's just an incredible experience.
it's very empowering. Yeah, very empowering. All right. So one of the things that they said in Kentucky, they talked about this idea of a resonant container. So whenever you go anywhere, you're creating a container. And when you bring people into relationship, for example, the two of you are creating this container through which healing can happen. That's really the point of the container. And so I had asked a question. We were in the Midway University Auditorium is where we were presenting in Kentucky. And I love to ask this question for the audience because it's fun. And I said, what other beings that we can't see are here with us today, supporting us? And where are they in the room? And so there were fairies and sprites, which was very interesting, along the edges of the building on the inside that were holding the grounding space for us, the earth grounding. And then they went into, they said, there's so many we can't even start to name them, but most of them are the beings that you guys brought in. So they said, you all left space in between where you're seated, and you think it's just because you wanted to leave room.
It's kind of like you show up at the classroom for the first day of class, and not everybody sits together. It's like one here, one there, one here, one here. It's like that, right? And that's what it was like. There was maybe 30, 40 people, maybe 50 people, and they were all literally spread out, where instead of like grouping together.
Some did group together in little groups. But
ones that knew each other, but for the most part, everybody left a lot of space between, maybe rows between. It was just very, it was spread out.
Right.
Yeah.
So the collective was like, you thought you did that for human reasons, but you did that because your ancestors or your guides or whatever are sitting there with you, supporting you. That was neat. Everybody,
That
I think,
is really cool.
they're kind of. Have you ever been on that show? The ride at Disney World, the haunted. You go through the haunted castle, and you look over, and there's a ghost sitting beside you in the car.
And how is there space for that? But there always is.
Right.
Yeah, even if you have a friend in the
Right.
That's what it's like. It's like you can look over, and there's a apparition or something there. But anyway, so that was fun. And they also said that that's kind of because everybody in this conference was interested in either medical field or holistic healing or something about medical, right? And so they said what's happening is that what we understand as traditional medicine is pretty much going to be non-existent moving forward into the new earth.
Are you saying traditional Western, traditional Eastern?
Traditional Western.
Western.
Medical, the medical field is going to look completely different. And we're going to be going back, they said, to the beginning of humanity. Not necessarily, they said, new technology that's going to hang on the wall. Like everybody talks about the med beds and all this sort of stuff, but they want us to know that the body has always been able to heal itself and can. And so when you come into relationship as a practitioner, like a medical practitioner with a client, you're going to be speaking to each other's energy field. You're going to look at their energy field, and you can see hot spots, and you can see what's wrong, and their energy is going to tell you what you need to do to help them. So it isn't, there won't be any need for this diagnostic equipment. You're going to know. It's sort of like psychic ability to know what's wrong with them and how to help them. And so a lot of those therapies and therapeutic things are going to come from the ancient ways, because they said, again, Mother Earth holds all remedies. Everything that a human needs can be found on or in Mother Earth.
That's pretty cool.
But they also said, and this was new that I had not heard before, that Earth has changed, obviously, since its inception, and humanity has also evolved and changed. And because of that, we won't necessarily use the exact same homeopathic remedies and things, that we're going to find new ways to use them and new ways like to create tinctures. And like you might have always thought St. John's wort was for this, but now that humans have evolved and St. John's wort has evolved, it might be used in a different way.
That makes sense. That the relationship would be, I'm about to do I'm doing the experiment of having shaved up avocado seed and putting that in rubbing alcohol because I've got an issue with my wrist, and it helps with inflammation and so forth.
Wow.
And it's just those two things. Let it sit for a week, and then you apply with compresses or whatever.
Wow.
And that and Rob actually mentioned that to me. He said he saw it on some video or whatever, and I looked it up, and I'm like, well, yeah, that seems to be, a bunch of people were, saying, yeah, this is legit, and I'm just like, it resonated. So that makes sense to me.
But you would put that in, you said, not oil.
Rubbing alcohol. And a little bit of, they were saying rubbing alcohol, but then I came across this woman who's been using this remedy forever, and she adds castor oil to it, just a little bit.
Interesting.
That makes sense to me with the oil.
Yeah.
So when they were talking about how the medical field was going to look completely different, they said, because I asked, they started off, of course, talking about, the elections coming up and all this sort of stuff. And so then I was like, okay, give us some hope. What is it going to look like? How are we going to benefit? What's it going to be looking like that's more pleasant? And they said, all systems will no longer exist. They will all be rewritten. So whether it's your educational system, your government systems, your medical system, your banking, all of those systems are going to be rewritten. So what it looks like right now will not exist. There still will be a government, but it'll look completely different. Or there still will be banking systems, but it'll look completely different. And then they said that duality will be dialed back. And we've talked about this on the show before, how there's still going to be polarity in the fifth dimension because you need that to learn, but it doesn't need to be as severe, and you can find easier ways to get to the middle. So they did reconfirm that.
Interesting. Well, I mean, I was just thinking how I've wanted to do like an herbalist course and learn how to do all that kind of stuff. And, and yet I can't seem to ever get around to like actually committing, and I've kind of dabbled and stuff. And that makes sense that things are, because if we become different dimensional, and also, we've been paying attention to the fact that, the sun is shifting our DNA and all that kind of stuff. It's like, it makes a lot of sense.
And a lot of our clients are getting that hit too, to move into holistic ways of healing and helping. Yeah.
Well, so much of it, like you said, did you say it this time or the last podcast, about the energy healing? How important that energy healing is, the blockages.
Yeah.
And that's primarily like, for me with this thing going on, I looked up in metaphysical anatomy book, and it all had to do with being forced into a situation that was not of your choosing, and that you're having to, like, it talked all about this resistance I'm having to the situation, everything. And it talked about a mother figure doing it. They're sitting there going, they know I had resistance to going to New Zealand. And this came about right before I left.
Yeah.
Really?
So I've been working through the emotional, like it's amazing how tied this is into like what crops up when I work through the emotional aspect of it. But, I've really done a number on it. So there's also the physical healing.
So it kind of feels like carpal tunnel where it's, where it's sore and it's,
It feels like it's popping. It's like really quite, maybe you can help me afterwards. He like clued in right away what it was.
Well, it's
that's pretty good.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I have a tincture that our good friend Judy is the one that turned me onto it. It's called Evil Bone Water. I didn't name it.
It's really helpful.
It is.
Smells like celery to me.
It's an amazing tincture that was developed by a gentleman in a dojo for his athletes. And it was something that, because they didn't want to take the traditional creams and medicines and stuff like that. And I had a strain in my neck, and a couple squirts of that, apply some heat and let it soak in. It's kind of like one of those mentholated, it does have menthol in it, but there's other herbs and stuff in it. And it goes right to it. And it's just like, oh.
Did you make it yourself?
No. You get it in a spritz bottle.
Okay.
There are several,
some
acupuncturists, and but you can look it up online, and I think you can order it directly offline. But it's Evil Bone Water, and it's absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Well, and now that I've mentioned this avocado seed thing I'm doing, which is nice because if you're not going to grow a plant from it, use it in some way. But anyway, so I've got to remember to report on it, at the end of the month and see how that went.
See how it
Very
goes.
good. And Go ahead.
Now I'm just curious because you started off by talking about how we're creating a container. So when you say that, are you saying like whenever two individuals come into contact, regardless of what the intention is, a healing is taking place, we're giving each other whatever we need,
Yeah.
or is it only when you're going in seeking medical assistance?
No. But these are different ways that you're creating containers. So they talked about how when we come into contact, whether it's a group of 2 or 3 or 4, however many, that you're coming in and you're either creating a container with all of the members, or you have your own container as you move around too. And when we say healing, when you come into a relationship with somebody, you may not view that relationship as something that's going to be healing for either of you. It might be a contentious relationship, right? But your energies are still getting what they need from each other because you've orchestrated that at the higher level for learning, right? So you're getting what you need. So when we say healing, it can actually either be true healing, or what you need. You're getting what you need in that container. And it's funny because that theme sort of resonated, and that's why I brought up the auditorium, because that, they said, is another container, and that all of those consciousnesses of the people that came were creating a container within that auditorium in which they invited their guides and ancestors, whoever else wanted to be there. So they had already created this container. And it was not coincidental that each of them were there.
So you're not needing to, like, how we set the intention of this, of holding this space and all that kind of stuff. Like you were saying, I guess before, the intention comes online. Like you said, this is what you're going to do. So when you're in front of someone, you could do the ritual, or you could just go, okay, the intention is this is what we're here for. Let's go for it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think their point was, yes, you can do that intentionally, and it's a good idea. When we say we're creating, when we talk about this phrase called holding space for, and people are like, what the heck? It took us a long time to figure out what that meant. I'm holding space for you. What the hell does that mean? That's what you're doing. You're holding a container open of love and energy in which they can grow and process or heal or whatever it is that
it's like you're giving them, you're nurturing them with energy or whatever it is that they require from you, but they're not taking it from you. They're taking it through you.
Right. And that's a big difference.
Yeah.
But they wanted us to understand that we're doing this, whether we're doing it intentionally as a client practitioner, or if we're just going about our day and subconsciously we're doing this.
Because you're in your own container as you're walking around, and as you come up against somebody else, say in a line, you actually are then
kind of sharing a container.
Because you're in an energy field of theirs, they're in an energy field of yours, which then in essence becomes a container that both of you are in. So if you're not, and I look at it this way, if you're not on that highest potential of your own vibration, and and theirs is a little bit higher than yours, well then, there's going to be some sharing of that so that you can, and that's why sometimes we're, even if you do step in a line with somebody and you just feel lifted up, you just feel like, wow, there's something interesting, or there's something, or
brought down.
It's because you're sharing an energetic container for that moment of your sharing your energies, and if you're not ready for it, high or low, you're going to either get some or lose some.
Well, okay, so I did a container this morning. Like it was, and the thing is, there is a feeling you get from like. Am I going to enter into this? And this is like cold container creating. Let's talk about it like that. Where I'm sitting there at Starbucks waiting for my coffee, and I'm hearing them rush around and stuff. There weren't many people in the store at the time. And this one woman's like, you know what? And she's a younger woman. She's like, I started decorating my apartment for Christmas because I need some happiness. I need some good vibes. I need, and so she's talking about this. And I was kind of going, do I or don't I? Do I or don't? Like, and literally you're like, am I going to put this energy out? Am I going to commit? Because it is a commitment to enter into a transaction, some energetic transaction with an individual. Yeah. And I walked up to her and I said, what is your name? And she told me her name. And I said, here's $20. I want you to go out to Hobby Lobby or wherever and go get yourself some more decorations. Right. I think you're doing self-care and you're recognizing that, and I want you to be able to add more to it. And she's like, oh my God, you don't really have to do this. And I'm like, I want to. And she's like, eyes lit up, and the energy boosted so
Right.
tremendously from that.
And then we talked about that yesterday with, because at that point, you just created a ripple,
Yeah.
right, in that person's life.
Yep.
And so because you gifted her that $20, well, what did she do then the rest of the day? What did she gift somebody else with? Maybe she bought somebody coffee, or maybe she took that
just
$20 and,
smiles
or whatever, or or just a smile to somebody else, because you just shifted her whole dynamic plane into another realm, right? Another vibrational realm. And it's that we're really called to do, is to create those ripples around us that are ever changing somebody else's perspective or their realm or their existence. So,
Well, I like the reference of the container, because it literally is, I'm sure you guys have felt this, where, you see somebody who's, maybe they're asking for a job and it's a hot day and they're standing out there, and it's like, do I give them water? Like, you don't have a job to offer them, you're not gonna give them money, but do I give them water? And there's a resistance. There's how is this going to be received? And a lot of people, I don't know this is just how I feel about it. I feel this, I get a strong nudge to do stuff like that. And I don't know. I think that you are entering into an energetic container,
Or agreement,
an
yeah.
exchange.
Right. That's beautiful. Thank you for that example.
Yeah.
When we asked about the hope, there were a couple of other things that they mentioned about the new earth.
Ooh.
One was that people are going to start presenting differently. So you might run into people that have already ascended. Like we said, the first wave is coming at the end of this year into the new year. So people are going to start to present differently. Like their personalities might look a little bit different. They might be more peaceful or calm, or they're not reacting the way that you expect them to. And sometimes that'll look, they said, like they're discombobulated a bit. And maybe you'll feel this way too. Feeling discombobulated, like you can't get a sentence because you're still negotiating this new energy and trying to figure it out, and how to interact in the 3D from a 5D perspective. And so if you see people acting oddly, or you feel like you can't kind of get grounded and can't get a sentence out, or you can't keep track of time, or you're confused or losing things or whatever, that can be part of the byproducts. But the other exciting thing
Or
they
it's
said,
just natural, like for me, to feel that way. Well, because I'm sitting here going, oh my God, that's my experience
My
this
life,
past
that's
couple
my
of
life.
days,
Yeah.
and then I'm like, oh, but that's kind of me.
but then they said other dimensional beings will begin to appear. They said they're already there, but you can't see them. So they're going to start appearing. You're going to start seeing them. As you rise in vibration, then you're going to be with them in their vibration. And so you'll be able to see them.
So, okay, remember how we talked about going back to, like, are you going to see it as an overlay on a human person, or are you going to see an
I think
Arcturian
maybe both.
standing in front
I think
of you?
maybe both. I think it's going to start by the overlay.
Okay.
And they did, was this in a private? Oh, this was in a client's session, a friend of ours who had a galactic session. And they said that she would be experiencing ascension a little bit different, because her galactic self, which is currently in the 7th dimension, was going to be moving up to the 8th dimension at the same time she's moving from 4th to 5th. And so in that lineage, basically, they're moving together. So she'll understand. And anyway, they called that a Stargate ascension, which I've heard Magenta Pixie talk about that before, Stargate ascension.
Yeah, I didn't
But the
know that.
point of that was that they said only about 10 to 12% of the population has that kind of relationship with their galactic alignment. And they said those people will be the first, that 10 to 12 will be the first ones to start to see the overlay on people, because everybody's going to ascend.
Yeah.
But if everybody had that ability after ascension, because it doesn't
It'd
mean
blow
they're
your mind.
awake, right? They're not awake. They're all ascending, but they don't have this understanding. They're not watching our podcast. They don't have an awakening. They're just like living their 3D life. So when they ascend, they're like, they know something happened, but they don't know what happened exactly. And if they started to see ETs walking around, they'd probably, as we say, shit a brick.
Yep.
So anyway.
I guess we can say that on
So the
YouTube.
10 to 12% of us are going to start to see an overlay. And I think eventually we're going to see them walking amongst us, because we'll be at that vibration with them. But they said they're here to assist the changeover. They're here to assist with this changeover that's happening. They're not here to do it for us. They are not going to, we've said this before, be our saviors. They're also not working against us, as a lot of people out there think. So they're here to assist with the changeover. And do I need my glasses? What does that say? Oh, that was funny. Neanderthal?
Yeah.
They said they're also here to help you with technologies, and the Arcturians specifically are doing this, to help us with technologies that will blow our minds and make our lives way better and easier. They said right now, your technology looks like the Neanderthals to them.
Well, I'm sure. Well, I'm trying to remember who just recently said this, if it was Elon Musk or if it was Graham Hancock, who was talking about that, it might have been Elon Musk. He's like, the stuff's already there. It exists. It's just who can bring it forward.
Right.
And that needs to happen.
Yeah, it's in the ether. It's just, it needs to be.
Well, it's been created. No, there's stuff that's been created. That it's just like, because of the bigger boys at play that don't, that want to feed the machine and stuff.
Yeah, gotcha.
And because a lot of this stuff, you can't put a price on it.
Right,
It's
Yeah, it'll be coming out a lot more. There's already,
I'm excited
we get
they're
so
saying
many galactic sessions with people that their Arcturian tells them that they're working on this technology. Lots of people all over the globe are. So we're going to have that real soon, I think. And then the last thing they mentioned was that children, particularly those aged 10 and less, all of those types of kids are, of course, wide open. They don't have the filters that their parents and grandparents have had. So listen to them because they have messages for humanity. So listen to them in new ways. Listen to them from your divine, not just your human, because they're going to be telling you things. They said, let them create, let them get those messages out, whether they're drawing, coloring, being dramatic, whatever it is that they want to do to in an artistic, creative way to get those messages out, right?
Yeah.
So that's really, really beautiful.
always ask questions. Don't explain what the child is experiencing or try to tell them differently. It's you're supposed to ask
Investigate.
questions. And if you go on TikTok, you can find a lot of videos where there's moms who are just sitting there like they're just letting their kids rap and they're videoing and it's not always on the screen.
Right.
Not all of them do that. But anyway, and you just hear these kids going, like little tidbits of information, like, it was really scary there for a while, Mommy, and then I saw you, and and I was here, and and just different things like that, and you're just sitting there like goosebumps. You're just going, what the hell?
Yeah.
And things that a 3 or 4 or 5-year-old, like they're not supposed to understand those concepts, so it's like,
But they do.
yeah, there's more there, though the awareness is wide open.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's cool.
Speaking of TikTok, Will's been experimenting with
Dabbling.
TikTok and having a good time, and I'm still not on TikTok.
I'm going to
Even though-
install TikTok on her phone.
Even though my husband's on there, so I don't watch much of his stuff unless he shows me something to watch. It is getting kind of annoying. It used to be like when my daughter would send me a message and it would have a TikTok thing, I could go
And
hit
watch
it
it.
and it would go and watch
Yeah,
it.
you can't do
They
that.
can't-
won't let you
it
do
won't-
that
they won't-
anymore.
You have to have an account now. You have to have an account.
Oh,
So
that's
now I'm just
interesting.
frustrated. I know I'm not the only one because I've seen other people complaining about that
Well,
too.
you're missing really good and people say, if it weren't for TikTok, I would have never seen
Right.
this information. In fact, I'm not.
Yeah,
I got to stay away from some of the stuff. But
Yeah.
but there was a particular very important video regarding Michael Jackson that I'd never seen. I would have never known
Yeah.
about that plays into the greater thing of everything going on among the music
But then
industry.
you wonder, is it AI generated?
No,
Is
no.
it fake? Do you think? How do you know?
When it's
How do you know?
when it's an old video, like it's very hard for it to create all of the inconsistencies with an old video and the voice. I mean, like there's more people talking than one person, and it's very hard to do that.
I'm just very wary, and I know that's not just related to
But
TikTok.
you'll stay on
I mean, 'cause Reels, I
for
watch
an
some Reels
entire
on Facebook.
afternoon.
well, and here
No,
and,
not an
and here are
afternoon.
here's some tells
It's TikTok light.
with just average AI, like just the average Joe using it and trying to trick people. there are not as many expressions, like the wrinkles in the eyes and stuff like that. And the voice just is kind of.
And I guess that's the wrong frame of reference. I don't even mean AI generated.
Oh, you're
but-
just saying that somebody's messed with the video and
Yeah, and the
Manipulating
words that are
something.
coming out, because you've
Yeah.
seen those where they have these conversations between people and they're making up the words that are coming out, but the way the lips are moving, it looks like that's what could be. So I think those are also probably
There's
infiltrating.
this woman on TikTok who is deaf, and it's so much fun to watch her because she's watching influencer celebrities who are like trying to pose for pictures, and she's sitting there reading what they're saying because she can read lips.
Right.
So you have to get someone like that to go.
Well,
yeah.
it's
It's
what we've
interesting.
said all along. It's using your discernment. You know, I mean,
yes.
it's interesting because that's a great battleground, if you want to use that phrase, to hone your
Oh,
discernment.
gosh, that's a good point.
I mean, it really is, because like Allison's like, well, how do you know what you're watching? Because you're swiping past everything. Because I know exactly what I'm looking for. So my thumb is boop, 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 boop. Oh, okay, that's the one I want to watch. Boop, 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 boop. You know, it's like, I know what's there in a millisecond. My discernment is like, nope, 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 nope. Yes. You know, it's dialed in. So it's, and then even I get duped. I get, a couple seconds in, I'm like, okay, I know where this is going.
Well, I know if something is really pushing my emotions one way or another, the first thing I do is I go and I look in the comments to see if anyone's debunked it.
Yeah.
And then if it's something that I want to share with other people, then I go and I look online and I try to find whether it's been debunked or
See,
not
and
before
I
I
don't,
send it on.
I don't, on that media stream, I don't go into the pool of, conspiracy or metaphysical or any of that. I am engine rebuilding, I'm
Boring stuff.
that really I like. I mean, boats and ships and
He's
all
on
these-
boring talk.
Yes, I'm on boring talk. There you go. But
I like the animal videos.
or animal. Yeah, I like my animal videos.
He
too,
does.
so.
He shows me a lot of animal videos.
Yeah, but any of the other stuff, I rarely stop. There are a few that I follow that my discernment's like, yep, that's good information. I'll listen to it, but it's not extreme. So
Yeah.
it's just me.
But even like on Facebook, just the memes alone,
They get so exhausting. Everything's been memeified now.
and they'll put a meme of whoever, like
Meme-ified. I love
Morgan Freeman or somebody
Right.
else that you
And
think
he's
you
never said
trust, and with some phrase like he supposedly said it. How do you know he said that?
No.
Right?
Well, okay, so they say the way that you control a society or whatever, I can't remember the exact, there's like 5 steps. And we're definitely at that 5th step where you can't believe anything now. And because you can't believe anything now, that's supposed to be when you're most moldable and stuff, except because people like us keep shouting to everybody, discernment, sovereignty, all of those things, it's helping to embolden, trust yourself.
Trust self. Yeah.
All right, show of hands, people out in the audience, which is hard to do, obviously, we're virtual. But how many of you have seen the memes on, or the little statements by somebody, or some fact sheet that's come on there, and it's a blatant just, psyop of information, and you're like, nope, I know where exactly that information is coming from. Let me get the correct stuff, and you want to go and post it and throw it up against somebody else's stuff.
No.
I do. I get all the way to the point of going, never mind.
I used to snope people all
Getting
the time.
roped in.
Not gonna get in there
roped in.
because
Nope.
I don't want to. Yep.
Yeah.
But it's one of those moments where I take a couple minutes to go. I know that's not the truth, and I go and find the truth, and I'm like, yep. My
Okay.
discernment was correct.
I did it when this woman said, wait, how many genes do we have? Like how many?
Chromosomes,
Yeah,
or not
chromosomes.
chromosomes, or
26
DNA.
or
Yes.
whatever. And this woman was like, it's beautiful because we now have 26 sex chromosomes. And I was like,
No.
okay, I gotta, maybe I'm ignorant, but I gotta go for this one. And I said, how did you come up with 26? And she goes, oh, it's just beautiful how we've evolved. And I'm like going, can you show me where you got that from? And I went to this place and I'm like, no, honey. Yeah.
Well, Cryon talked about the 27th. I think that was it. There's 26, but we have 27 now, or we're developing, whatever it is. But
Yeah.
not all sex chromosomes. You don't have,
No, we have one sex chromosome.
Right, well,
It's
like, why-
it's-
we don't
but,
need 26
Yeah. I just didn't want that misinformation.
people.
It was interesting. Anyway,
So that's everything that happened in Kentucky that I wanted to share with you guys. And actually, that whole 45-minute or so recording is up on our YouTube channel. So if you should be
Yes,
right
it
next to this one somewhere, very
very
close to
cool.
this one. You can listen again.
Yeah, you'll see it.
What?
You can
You'll
link
see
to
it. It's
Yeah, you'll see it.
You'll see it.
Put
It's
the link in the description.
for those that are following along at home. My my YouTube channel links to my collective channelings. I guess you call thumbnail has changed. So it's a blue background. It has a little icon and it has the title of what it's going to be. So
Okay.
enjoy.
And it's called The Miraculous Healing
No,
Speaker
Miraculous Healers Speakers Series.
Series in Kentucky. That's the one you're
Yes.
looking for that.
Yes,
All
I was
right.
the inaugural speaker for that, by the way. I
Yes, you
was.
were for Dr.
That's right.
Roach's speaker series. He's
Yep.
going to have Anita Morjani. He's going to have Eben Alexander. Lots of cool people, and we were the first.
Yep.
That was very neat.
Checking out.
I want to hear about New Zealand, though.
Okay. What can I
What
say
were
about
the little nuggets and fun things, and aside from your mom not letting you carry her luggage?
Yeah.
Porter.
There's a Mel Brooks thing there somewhere.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's gotta be. No, when people say, what was it like? The way I describe it is, it was like being in a national park for 3 weeks. And here's how little I knew about New Zealand. I didn't realize that it's 2 islands. That was just one. I didn't even really know quite where it was
Yeah.
located. So that's,
over by
always
Somewhere by
interesting.
Australia.
It's over there by Australia somewhere.
And I think there's some
In the
Tasmania over
South
there.
Pacific
Yeah,
somewhere.
Tasmania is below Australia, and New Zealand is off to the
Yeah.
side.
Okay.
Yeah.
On
so
the
it's-
eastern coast of Australia.
How
correct?
how
Yeah.
long were you traveling? Like 24 hours?
It's just not. If time would just bend, if we could just go from,
If
We
we
will.
could just fold it. And
They
go,
say that we will.
Yeah, well, that
They
needs
do.
to happen before I'm going back again. But no, first class, I got to go first class on the way over on the long part of the trip. And
Is that from
LAX.
LAX? Yeah.
To Sydney.
Wow.
And I will say I had a crisis moment doing that, because you're in your little pod,
Oh wow.
and you lay down, and it's just not right that you're laying down
On a plane.
on a plane over an ocean. And so I started to, this went on for 2 hours. I'd start to fall asleep, and then all of a sudden I'd be like, no, this isn't real. I'm at home. I can just get up and go to the bathroom. And I thought I was literally going to have a freak out.
Wow.
Like it was really, my mom had no idea how I was about to just really lose my shit. See,
Wow.
it was so freaky. And so I had to get up and just watch a show for a while and just kind of relax, and then lay down again. And the second time I laid down, I was like, okay, I got it. There's
Wow.
people all around me. We're all laying down. It's okay. And then I slept like a baby. Like it was so
Oh, nice.
like,
and then you're refreshed,
so comfortable.
instead
Yeah.
of jet lagged.
Well, and that's how, my mom was trying to give us the best way to get up and start. And this is just like little tidbit things, because this isn't really what I want to talk about, but it is weird to come back and try to remember to drive on the other side, the right side of the road.
Oh.
This morning I left my house and I'm on the left side of the road.
No way.
And I'm
Oops.
going, this isn't right,
Oh
Sam.
my gosh.
So it gets in your head and
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of messes. And I'm sure if I did it a bunch of times, it would make sense.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's so that was kind of trippy. But then beyond that, it's the North Island, South Island, 2 totally different environments. But what's really, really cool about New Zealand is that, so when the British came, or the Maori people lived there, when the British came over, I guess it was British, in like I think the 1800s, was it? The Maori people, blended with them and accepted them like no problem. And of course, they come in and they start going, okay, everyone's going to speak English. This is the way we're going to do things. And, and kind of progress from there. But there was never really a big resentment. They don't like the treaty that occurred because there was some weird language. How like what it means in English is not the same in another culture, that kind of thing. But okay, so I'm saying this all for a point. What's really interesting is, the whole English thing went on for a while, and then it was kind of like, no, we're not going to speak Maori in public and all this kind of. Now there's this resurgence of
the native tongue.
Yeah, and I mean, it's an island, it's like, how far are you going to go? Like, this is the majority of the people and all this stuff. And there's so much pride in it now, like that. And there never was a lack of pride of being Maori, but it's of speaking the language. And it's not just that. There's so much cultural history and significance and understanding and having adapted and all this kind of stuff. So the mysticism, the lore and all that has all come back into play. In fact, there was a YouTube video that I saw it right as I was getting ready to go over. And it's of them doing their big cultural dance where they do the tongue and all that. I can't remember what it's called. But they broke a Guinness World Record for having like 10,000 people doing it.
Wow.
And of course, like, I don't know if anyone had watched the Olympics where, their teams will start off doing that, thing. And so it's super, super intense. But okay, so the big thing to do, because of course I'm going over there, I'm like, okay, what are the crystals? What are the stones? And the big stone there, which I got mine, I'm so excited about, is it's called Pounamu. You can see that. It's a green stone. This is the most, like, the dark one is stronger, and it's they use it for actual, like, spears and stuff like that. The lighter one has all these other occlusions and things in it. It's really pretty. But what was really funny is we went over there to see my nephew, and he had been there for 2 years. And of course, the moment I see him, I see he's got, this gorgeous stone on, and it's like they all have their own special whatever. And what do? I just walk right up to him and go, "Oh, pretty stone," and he looked at me like, "Whoa." Because you do not grab someone's Pounamu. Like, it is, it literally, I've never worn a stone to bed, nothing around my neck. I hate that. Wow. This thing, I only take it off to shower. It's like a part of my body. Wow. So it's like a green jade, but
What have you felt since you've had it on? What have you noticed? Calm?
Yeah. Wow. I feel like there's, how do I explain it? It's almost like having a mother's arms go around you and just say, it's okay. It's okay. Even when I was getting really upset on the trip, there were a few moments. It was challenging, traveling with a bunch of people, but there were just these moments. And like, once I had this, the difference between the two, it was just like having this warm embrace. So, I mean, it's kind of like it's like a form of jade. So I don't know all the properties of jade, but it, and they've got all these legends that are so beautiful where they say like, it always finds its way home. So you'll return to New Zealand, and you don't. And I heard someone say this about Moldavite, that you aren't supposed to gift yourself Moldavite. Someone else is supposed to gift it to you, or the same with the Pounamu. And so, but the woman at this. I bought it where it originated from. And she said, no, it's, I believe people need to pick out what calls to them, but then let someone else put it on you.
Okay.
So she did that. And then I said, well, I've got this for my daughter. And she said, let me tell you what to do for your daughter. She says, you don't just give it to her. She said, you need to wear it and imbue your mother's love with it. And I'm sorry, even when I say it now, she said that to me, tears welled up in my eyes. I don't know what the deal was, but there's something about, it just grabbed me. And I don't know, the whole, I loved learning the language. Like, once you understood how the vowels are pronounced, then you could take these really long words and it would be a word with like 20 vowels in it. And you would just be able to sound it out like a tongue twister at first, but then you knew the
flow.
Kind of like listening to Geordie or something, or Scotsman or something. Like, it takes a bit, and then you hear it and you go, okay, now I get it. So the people are absolutely amazing and warm, welcoming, and just very culturally grounded.
Yeah.
I guess is the way to put it.
And you said you had a lot of coincidences or synchronicities or
Oh,
something?
yeah. The synchronicity, they kind of didn't flow as easily once my sister joined. I live
Hopefully
with
she doesn't watch the
Catherine.
podcast.
Yeah. So my nephew Alex, he's kind of, he said he realizes that he was brought there with this girl who, he thought he was in love with and all this stuff, so that he could have his crisis of identity there and rebuild himself, and that's, and so he did the whole thing of working in the kiwi orchards and,
Wow.
and, tracking in the outback stuff, just finding himself. And so he and I would have these incredible conversations that my mom would just kind of check out of.
Right.
Because
Gloss
we're
over.
talking about, how the psyche perceives things and how we do, like just I don't know, just so many just levels of spirituality and stuff. And so here we're talking about this and we're kind of not grifting, but like just this energy is moving between us. And then weird stuff just starts to happen, one thing after the next. Like first, I'm like, the weather was perfect, beautiful, which is nobody spends 3 weeks in New Zealand and has gorgeous weather. We only had it rain on us on one event, which was really great because then we learned how you get through, how they usually get through the rain. But these synchronicities, okay, here's the best example of one to explain how crazy this got. We get to the South Island. We're staying at a bed and breakfast, and where my mom and I get this wonderful room, and there's a room next to ours, but nobody's in it. Door's locked, and so it's just us. And my sister's coming down to join us, but she's coming in the next day. So we decide to drive down the coast and to stop at this gorgeous little beach at this place called Split Apple Rock. We go down to the beach, and I find this beautiful scallop shell. And I'm like, oh my God, it was like, I only collect the perfect one. So I kept this shell. And the woman had told us, go to the Jellyfish Cafe for lunch in this other town. And we're like, okay, so on our way back, if we can, we'll stop by there. We go back up to the car park and these people kind of blocked us in. And it's these two very nice women who are still in their car, thank goodness. And they're like, oh, we can back up, don't worry. So they back up and we're like, thank you. And then we get in our car and we drive back by way of this place so we can go to the Jellyfish Cafe. And everything's just working out like kind of beautifully. The weather's gorgeous and we're feeling good. And Alex and I are having these great conversations. The moment we walk up to the restaurant, I'm just like, oh my God. It's okay. What do you think their symbol, their logo would be?
A jellyfish.
Yeah, no, it's a scallop shell. And we end up having this incredible meal, and it's the one place that we really stopped and kind of shopped and had fun, just looking around and going easy with things. And I didn't say anything to Alex at that time. We go back to, and there's other stuff that happened. I just can't remember it now. But we go back to the B&B. And we're walking inside and Alex is coming with us to our room and the door next to us is open. And I go in, I see these people and I go in and Alex stops and he goes, weren't you the two women in the car?
Oh.
Like,
wow.
How? Like this is the resort town. There's so many places to stay.
Yeah.
What are the chances?
Right.
Like it was weird stuff like that. Like we would say, oh, wouldn't it be nice to have this? Or I remember another time where we didn't know where we were going and we thought, let's stop and have a cup of coffee, but we're in an industrial park. And so we're like, okay, well, there's nowhere to stop to eat. And mom goes, well, that says coffee right there. And we go, okay, that looks kind of dicey. And it's drizzling. This is the day that it was drizzling. And we go back and, this nice gentleman says in this warehouse, he's like, you can pull your car into my warehouse. I'm okay with that. And we're like, well, that's nice. We go in the back way of this place and it turns out to be the funkiest coffee house, like weird angles and brightly colored. And they had the best coffee. And we had, of course, some pastries and stuff. And it was so nice. And then later on, we're like, we leave there, we go and do our thing. And we're like, we're hungry for lunch. And I look up, what are the top places to eat in that town? Well, that was the top place. We just, it was an industrial park, so it's like,
yeah.
I mean, there were so many moments that Alex and I were just like, what? You know, and my mom's just kind of going, okay, you guys are so weird. Like she just
Can't lock into it.
yeah, I can't just enjoy the craziness of it. But it was just thing after thing. Like where we stayed was across from where Alex first stayed with his girlfriend, and it freaked him out, you know, because he's like, of all the places you could have
Memories.
stayed, you're right across, you know. So it just the whole thing. There were so many. I don't know, so many interesting things, but it's a gorgeous place.
So is Alex, is he now permanent there? Or is he going to be?
He wants to be.
Yeah.
But it's a work visa kind of thing. They call it, I say workation. It's not workation. It's a working, it's like a working vacation kind of thing, but I can't remember. It's called something else. And so you have to get so many points of experience or whatever, and if you get them in the right area, then they'll let you apply for a visa to stay longer.
Oh, okay.
So he's working towards that, and honestly, I could have stayed.
Yeah.
If
What's the exchange? Is it pretty
about
comparable?
35%, like off of the dollar. So
okay.
so I could spend $1 and it would only cost me 65 cents.
So it worked in your favor.
Yeah, it worked in my favor.
Well, that's good.
Wow.
Yeah, which made me just feel like, oh, well, it's only this, so I can just.
Did you find that things were more expensive there than they would have been in the States?
They think so, but compared to, you know, the East Coast, I
Yeah.
don't think so. Like no, not at all. I'll tell you, here was the hard part. Like I've always traveled where I want to go to place to place to place to see everything.
Yeah.
I want to see the world. I want to soak it up. And on this trip, and this is part of my initial resistance to the trip, is that I know that that's how my mom travels. It's always how I've traveled. But there's something that's changed in me, and I want to have a moment like to soak it up. Like I have people say, "Oh, did you feel any energies there? Did you feel this?" And it's like, no.
Didn't have time to.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, like
Yeah.
that stuff doesn't just happen. You have to
Yeah.
drop out of muggle mode and, you know, allow yourself to seep into the
Yeah.
energy there.
Yeah.
So for that, I was really kind of disappointed because I didn't really, I mean, there were some areas where I could have just melded. And I didn't get to do that. And I think that that's the one thing that makes me go, wow, if I had a first class ticket, I'd go back. It would have to be a first class ticket.
In the pod.
In the pod.
See, that's odd. Did it feel galactic like in this pod?
Well, no. When I say a pod, like think of cubicles.
Yeah,
that just, they're like, you know, you'd see someone poke their head up and then go down again. You know?
Gophering in the,
Yeah. So they only went up like this high.
Yeah.
So you had semi-privacy.
But you could sit. You didn't have to always
Yeah,
be
think
laying
of-
down, right?
Yeah, like a
It
lounge.
just would recline back.
Yeah, it's a recliner that goes full into a laying down position.
So you could put it up into seated position to eat your dinner and all that
Yeah,
stuff. Okay.
yeah.
Interesting.
You're not on a bed when you walk in or lay down like in a hospital.
Right, right.
Yeah.
How long is the flight from LAX to Sydney then? What is
That's
it?
like 15 hours.
Let's see.
Well, and it's so weird because, like, yeah, and the coincidences started pretty much right after my mom and I took up. I've never laughed so much on a trip. We go from Atlanta to LAX, and we're in these really comfortable seats, and I'm like, this is new. I mean, like, you couldn't even make the seats work; they were so new because it just like they're kind of stuck. And you're like, and we get off of the plane knowing we have very little time to go from LAX to
Because you left during the storm, right?
Yes.
You
Oh,
left
that's
during
right,
the
yeah,
storm.
we were we were kind of worried about that one. And then we get to LAX and we're like, okay, where's our gate? Where's our gate? And I just start cracking up and Mom was like, what? And I said, this is our gate. That's our plane. The one that I sat there looking at all the people in first class going, God, I would love that experience. I hope ours is like that.
So you got off the plane and then right back on it.
Yeah.
Wow. How funny.
Yeah, that was kind of trippy. It was a very, very comfortable plane.
Very nice.
But, all
Very
the
nice.
people that we met,
Yeah.
like just, and my mom did take time for this at the very beginning. I couldn't believe she took time for this because there was this couple who are living out, they're older couple that are living out of their camper now. And they're just kind of your average Joe, which my mom doesn't do average Joe. Just doesn't.
You're talking about in New Zealand?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like he was some kind of construction or something. I can't quite remember what he did. But anyway, really nice people.
Yeah.
And they invited us for coffee, and my mom said,
Oh,
okay.
Wow. Yeah, yeah.
I was like,
Wow.
just, because she felt the luxury of time at that point.
Yeah.
But, like you were talking about all the things that you've learned about medicines, like how our bodies are shifting and stuff.
Yeah.
It's interesting because when one thing that they, of course, they're on an island, so they know every single part you can use of a plant.
Yeah.
And I mean, this one tour, that's like all the guy really wanted to talk about.
Wow.
And I thought that was so.
That is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, because they have the tea tree plant there.
Oh.
They call it a manuka, but it's
Tea tree, huh?
Yeah, but it's Melaleuca.
Melaleuca or manuka?
Well, it's called manuka.
Because isn't manuka the honey? Isn't that
Manuka is
expensive honey?
Yeah,
I guess different though,
manuka
right?
comes from- I don't know.
Huh.
But they said no. It's like the thing that you call it tea tree is how they said
Oh,
it.
wow.
And I
That's
was
where they
like,
get the tea tree oil from.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Ian, that is interesting.
Yeah,
Wow.
so there's just so much about, there's all these little bits and pieces I could talk about, but but I'm trying to pick out like the spiritual ones. The one other spiritual thing, I mean, there were others, but that really, really grabbed me. And this was the reason why I was like, okay, I'm going to do this trip. I'm going to make the most of it, even though I kind of didn't want to leave with everything that was going on
Yeah.
here. Was that I had done a past life auto writing thing where I recognized in the past life that my son was my little brother and that my mom was my best friend. And this best friend was upset with me because I was going to follow my brother into war because I felt I needed to look out for him.
Yeah.
And my best friend was really angry with me because they were like, we had adventures we were going to do. There were things we were going to go see. And that hit home so strong on this trip.
Wow.
Like I could see her. I could see my friend overlaid on her.
Yes.
That was super
Wow.
freaky. And I was like, okay, I have out of all these trips we've done, I have now paid it back in spades.
Right.
We're going to leave
karma
this lifetime.
is settled.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're going to go, you did me right.
Right.
It's like we've done our,
High five in it as you cross the finish line.
yeah.
That's awesome that it had a past life tie too. Very cool. Well, thank you for sharing. I'm glad you're back.
I am so glad you guys, it's wonderful to go visit other places. And the best part of it is realizing, people say, oh, well, I don't like how this is going, so I'm going to leave this country. You got to realize we got it really good here.
have it really good.
I mean, these places are wonderful and nice. They're not going to let you come to them.
Right.
You can come visit, but then you got to go.
Right.
So unless you're going to try to marry someone, you're not staying.
Right.
But, also like, I've heard a lot of people say, well, I'm going to go to Australia. There were some of the rudest people.
Really?
Yeah.
They
Like
were rude?
we were in the city.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's hustle and bustle and it was not, but the feel that and it wasn't, we weren't there long enough, but the feel of that area I didn't care for.
Yeah.
I think had I gotten out into other areas, I would have identified more.
yeah.
Just for the record,
Mm-hmm.
we've had a lot of clients from Australia and they've all been fantastic.
Fantastic.
I don't
people.
think they live in the city, and
No.
that's kind of like
No, I
any
think
big,
they get out of the
any
city.
big city.
They
yeah,
live out. They live out in the further edges of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
because everybody's like, no, you don't want to stay in Sydney. You want to go outside of Sydney. And I will agree with that it's, that was not the place to be. But again, we have it so good here and we don't recognize that. And if we would just take what we have here and really give a damn about each other, like they do in New Zealand, like really care about
Yeah.
our environment, about the person next to you. We could make this an amazing place. It's harder because it's bigger,
Yeah.
but wait, one other thing I learned, which was really cool. You look at a globe and you think, oh, this tiny little place. It stretches from our Maine down to Miami. It is that
That's how
big.
long it is?
Yeah, because
Wow.
we take these things and we put them on.
We project
a
them up.
globe.
Yeah.
It screws up. Like my cousin or my nephew Alex showed me this overlay of what the actual land masses are. Like,
Yeah.
Russia, how much space that actually is smaller than what we think it is. Like
Right.
when we think the U.S. is so big and it's really not. Like it'll freak you out. Our perception of our world is so skewed and it's been indoctrinated
Yeah.
into us. And you just have to keep letting go and just going, there's so much greater stuff out there
Trust
to learn.
but verify is always.
but verify.
Yeah, is a good statement.
Yeah. I am so happy to be home, you guys.
But is it flat?
It is and it's not.
Another topic for another day.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for joining us on this quick update of concepts, ideas, and travels. Please hit that thumbs up if you haven't already. And check out some of the other videos, the monthly channelings, and sign up for our class and or the tarot class that she's putting on in January as well.
Yep.
And thank you so much for joining us on this episode. We will see you next time.
See y'all.
Bye.